Welcome back to Movieworld Recaps. Today, I will share a horror, mystery movie about an abused wife. Cecilia Kass, trapped in an abusive relationship with her diabolical and violent husband, an optics scientist named Adrian Griffin, flees in the middle of the night with the help of her sister Emily. Cecilia had drugged Adrian with diazepam, but as she flees, Cecilia releases their dog, which sets off the car alarm and awakens a raged Adrian, who pursues her. Cecilia flees with Emily, leaving the drug bottle behind, which Adrian discovers lying in the road. Cecilia is still hiding out at the home of her best friend James Lanier and his adolescent daughter Sydney 2 weeks later. Cecilia, who has remained a recluse and is scared of leaving the house, freaks out when Emily comes to visit, assuming Adrian would try to harm her. Emily, on the other hand, informs them that Adrian committed suicide. His brother Tom bequeaths his late brother's riches and estate to Cecilia, which Cecilia accepts solely to support Sydney's college tuition and James' household. Cecilia, on the other hand, has the unpleasant impression that she is being watched and hunted by an unseen entity that only she recognizes during the night. The comforter is progressively peeled off while sleeping next to Sydney in the middle of the night, and multiple flashes of light are observed. Cecilia awakens and notices the blankets at the foot of the bed. They won't move when she tries to take them back. Her reaction startles both Sydney and James, but she is unable to describe what she believes she has witnessed. Cecilia attends a job interview for the role of architect. Cecilia faints when she opens her portfolio to show off her work. Cecilia discovers she has been drugged after visiting the hospital. As she gets home, she gets a call from the doctor saying she had enough diazepam in her system to induce a slight overdose, which caused her fainting state. She comes across the bottle of diazepam Adrian had discovered. Cecilia visits Emily, who is upset and depressed after receiving a cruel email from Cecilia's account. Cecilia checks her email, discovers the message she sent, and suffers an emotional collapse. Sydney tries to cheer her up but is attacked by an unseen entity, prompting Sydney to panic and believe Cecilia is responsible. James then chooses to take Sydney outside to a safer location. Meanwhile, Cecilia examines the house and discovers her work in the attic crawl area, as well as James' enormous kitchen knife and several images of her sleeping shot by an unknown stalker. Cecilia splashes a gallon of paint on the ladder when she senses movement and discovers a man's silhouette wearing some kind of costume. Before Cecilia can leave the attic, the man flees and washes off the paint. The two fight until Cecilia breaks free from his hold and flees the house, hailing a lift car. Cecilia instructs the driver to take her to Adrian's. Cecilia discovers a high-tech suit he was working on that may render him invisible after breaking into her husband's house and getting into his laboratory. Cecilia hides the costume but is attacked by the invisible man until her dog reappears and intervenes, allowing her to flee. Cecilia arranges a rendezvous with Emily at a restaurant and apologizes, while also expressing her love for her. Emily's cynicism begins to fade as they bond, and Cecilia discloses that she discovered an invisibility suit at Adrian's lab. Emily is killed as a huge knife is dragged across her throat. Cecilia is arrested and taken to a sanitarium when the knife is placed in her hand. Cecilia gives in after questioning her own sanity and learning she is pregnant with Adrian's child, but is challenged by Tom, who says he was working with his brother the entire time. Tom claims that until she returns to Adrian with his child, she would forfeit the inheritance and be permanently admitted to this institution. Cecilia refuses, still furious that he murdered her sister. Cecilia snatches one of Tom's pens before he leaves. Cecilia prepares to murder herself in her chamber by slashing her wrist with a pen, but the invisible man intervenes. After luring him out of hiding with herself, Cecilia stabs him twice with a pen, causing his suit to glitch and him to appear and disappear at random. A security guard enters to stop her but is knocked down by the glitching figure. Cecilia rushes out into the hall, but is halted by many security guards who notice the glitching figure as well. The invisible man effortlessly defeats them and flees into the stormy night. Cecilia pursues him, but he overwhelms her and warns her that he will now target Sydney. James hurries home after Cecilia tells him of the danger, only to find an unknown stranger attacking his daughter. James attempts to interfere but is brutally assaulted in front of a scared Sydney. Cecilia bursts in and splashes the person with a fire extinguisher, revealing his shape before discharging a fallen officer's weapon on him. The invisible man collapses to the ground and dies from his wounds. Cecilia reveals the invisible man's true identity as Tom. When a SWAT team storms Adrian's house, he is found chained and walled up. James explains that the evidence implies Tom exploited his brother to get at Cecilia, but she is still sure that Adrian and Tom were working together and that Adrian set it up so that Tom would take the blame if the worst happened. Cecilia, still agitated by the events of the day, contacts Adrian and agrees to meet him for dinner. Cecilia is wearing a listening device in the hopes of eliciting a confession from him with the assistance of James, who is stationed outside the property. Cecilia asks him whether he was tracking her, and Adrian initially denies it but eventually admits that he was. As Cecilia excuses herself to go to the restroom, Adrian becomes aware that something else is wrong when his head is pulled back and his throat is slit. Adrian drops on the ground, dying of blood loss. Cecilia enters the room, stunned, and calls the police, reporting an apparent suicide in a panicked tone. Cecilia then gloats over Adrian's dead body, implying that she did so while wearing his invisible costume. When James runs in, he discovers Cecilia fleeing with Adrian's suit and dog. Despite the fact that she set this up with the intention of murdering him, James lets her go. Cecilia walks away into the night, possibly with the intention of taking her husband's labor for her own gain in the future.